Testing, testing, one, two. Testing, testing, come on in. Oh man, I'm hoping everybody's having an excellent Thursday. One more day to Friday. Ready to bang the rest of this week out, y'all. We made it over yesterday, which was hump day. It's your boy Bugatti NYC, and like I always tell you, you could have went anywhere. But the fact that you came here, I appreciate you. Today we got some important news that I'd like to share with you. Yeah, that's right. They're saying that President Trump is about to start working on his border plan, and everybody's going nuts about it. The GOP, they've put in their comments, they're fighting back, they're pushing back, and many people have comments about that. We also have a situation where we've got Matt Gaetz, Senator Matt Gaetz, who was doing an investigation into Mayorkas investigations, as they feel that there were many cases that were brought up by the government in order to be sneaky, coercive, and things of that nature. And now everybody's really got their tails in a ruffle, because look at who they have now that's looking into this case. We went a little bit into it yesterday as far as that aspect of it, but today we're going to cover a little bit more. Like I said before, you guys, I appreciate you for coming through. It's your boy Bugatti NYC, and you could have went anywhere, but the fact that you came here, I appreciate you. Check out bigdrip.com at www.drinkbigdrip.com for the actual product, as well as fantastic merch that you guys see me wearing every day. If you'd like to get a part of the Drip Squad, you definitely can go over there and feel free to check out some merch, pick up a drink, and let us know what you think about the product. But today, let's get into the bottom line of why we're actually here. Let's go for it.
Well, I think you have to, be prepared for Donald Trump attempting to deport that many people. You never know with Donald Trump whether it's bluster. He said that we were going to build the wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. Of course, that didn't happen. There was actually very little of the wall that was built in his administration. Mexico definitely didn't pay for it. But this has been a fantasy of his, this mass deportation, for a while. And it's true that he has a team now around him with more experience and more know-how on how to get this done. Also control of all the levers of government now, and a Supreme Court that is more supportive of him. So there's already significant pushback from the ACLU, from other legal groups, providing services also to undocumented immigrants who are in the process of trying to become documented. I think there's going to be pushback from local police chiefs who don't want their police departments to become immigration agents because they feel like that's going to make communities less safe. And I agree with y'all that to the extent that the administration sticks with a much more limited plan of people who are violent criminals, it was good to see justice for Laken Riley's family. I think people agree with that. If there's somebody who commits a crime like that, no matter what their status is, they should be punished for that. But I think when you get into, for instance, saying somebody that has a speeding ticket from 20 years ago, who otherwise is a productive, good member of a community, I don't think that's in the same category. And I also don't think that dreamers, for instance, who've known no other country, should be deported. And that if he tries it, there's going to be a tremendous amount of blowback, not just from Democrats, but I think from even moderates and some Republicans.
Well, and this is a tough issue to sort of sort through politically if you're looking at Democrats and Republicans, because what is said on campaign trails often it does not match what happens in reality. And Donald Trump, we talked about building the wall. It was actually Lindsey Graham, and it was, I believe, John Cornyn. I want to get these names right, but there was one Republican senator after another Republican senator that said, building a wall is different. Yeah, building a wall is not going to take care of the problem. That was in 17 and 18 when Republicans controlled Congress. But let's dig even deeper. People don't remember, Barack Obama was hammered by the Hispanic community, by Hispanic leaders, because he deported 2.1 million illegal immigrants, 90% of them, by the way, violent criminals. Donald Trump.
Are we noticing Joe change up a little bit since his meeting with the president at Mar-a-Lago? I have to ask this question and I have to interject because I'm using someone else's content and I appreciate the fact that we're using it, but I gotta also point out the elephant that's in the room. Also, the fact that they're doing this and they're saying that all of the plans that he had in the past, people didn't want him for that. And it's the same reason now it seems like they actually elected him again to get into office. What do you think? Leave your comments below.
If my count's right here, deported 1.2 million. And that wasn't for lack of trying. Again, it's not just having the people on the ground to push the deportation. There's a million different things that have to go on.
You know, it's interesting. Recently, Congressman Tony Gonzalez, that represents a good part of South Texas, including areas right along the border, mentioned that he had inquired into how many folks fit that bill of violent criminals, and that it was several 100,000. Mm-hmm. So the number that we're talking about is not 11 or 12 million. I mean, the vast majority of people who are here, who are undocumented, yes, they may have come in and they broke the law when they came in, but they have been law-abiding, good, productive members, people that go to the same church, whose kids go to the same school, who, you know, work and serve the community.
And by the way, can we also say run family restaurant, help work, run family restaurants, make businesses work in a lot of these towns, main streets across America. At least this is, again, obviously, if they're violent criminals, if they're criminals that have committed serious crimes, I think 95% of Americans want them out. But if somebody's been here for 20 years, been a law-abiding citizen, I think that's when it gets more difficult politically for Republicans. For some, again, if we have the images that we saw in 2017, that is a political loser for any party that tries to do it.
Well, and if Donald Trump could deport couple 100,000 violent criminals, that gives him a win. It gives him plenty of
Huge.
images. It gives him, I've done this, I've delivered on a promise, and it doesn't muddle everything that he's done by taking it too far. And so I would use as the example of the counterexample, building the wall. Donald Trump didn't build the wall, but he built enough and he made an effort, and it showed his voters and Americans that he was trying, and they didn't penalize him for it. And so this could be the same kind of political deal. Get rid of violent criminals, deport them, but let's not deport hardworking citizens.
Let's not forget that we're also bringing in legislature so that when he leaves office, this cannot be written off by the next administration. Donald Trump now has the House, the Senate, as well as the presidency. They are now about to create laws which are harder to go around by a president when it comes down to certain laws that have been put in by the government. So when it comes down to trying to change these laws, let's say in the next 4 years, if Democrats win and trying to change everything, that's not going to be as easy as it was before, because there's a next step that the president has taken in order to make sure that these things can't get written out in the next administration.
Two other things. One, if he goes a more retail approach, as you're suggesting, then you avoid a scenario where you have massive public protests. You then, as Rand Paul warned against, having to bring in the military potentially under the Insurrection Act, which would be terrible for American society and terrible for this institution, this successful institution known as the U.S. military. The other thing Rand Paul squeezed in his comment, which I think the Trump administration will do, is to revive the so-called Remain in Mexico program. Mm-hmm. We have a totally broken system where people come here, ask for asylum, and then they come in, and it might take 5-10 years for their asylum cases to be heard. We can't do that. So one of the most interesting negotiations...
Yeah, but what happens afterwards? They're told, go on and come back for a court hearing. Yeah. And how many come back?
Yeah, we don't have numbers on that, but it's a very small percentage.
It's probably below 10%.
I'm guessing you're right. And in the meantime, people are here for 5-7 years. That's why, again, the negotiations between the new administration in Mexico to reestablish Remain in Mexico, that if you want to apply for asylum here, that's fine, but you sit in Mexico while your case is being adjudicated in the United States, the ability to get that reestablished will be a major, major immigration issue.
Jackie,
I'll also have to interject right here because of further information that has been found that many migrants who do get into the Remain in Mexico program wind up being harassed and beaten up and forced to do certain things by the cartels that are in Mexico because of course they have nowhere else to go and they have to do something. So the cartels actually wind up being very hard on them, which is why another reason why Donald Trump is going even further to deem cartels as terrorists. So therefore, on any scope of government, they're deemed as terrorists now, and every aspect of the law can go after them. So there's a lot of stuff that people are not looking into on the other side of what's actually happening in government when it comes down to stuff. I really urge you guys to look into a lot of this stuff to see every aspect of it and what makes sense to what's going on so that you know what's happening and stay well informed.
many of the Republicans you cover on Capitol Hill every day were reelected on the issue of immigration, voters saying that and the economy top of mind for them. So we heard Rand Paul draw some kind of a line in the sand for Donald Trump. Don't try to use the military. But what will be the posture of most Republicans as he pursues this mass deportation?
Yeah, well, before I get to that, I do want to jump on something that Richard noted, which is the law that gives the president this sort of limitless power to use the military domestically, the Insurrection Act. I would be remiss not to look back on our January 6th coverage, which is a handful of lawmakers and even some Republicans at the time who encouraged reforms to the Insurrection Act. You know, lawmakers do have some autonomy here, especially during this lame duck session, potentially, to get something through, to make some reforms, to try to curb Trump's limits and his ability to be able to use the military. And we know in the last administration, in his first administration, that he threatened several times over the course of his term to use the military in inappropriate ways, such as clearing protesters who were protesting George Floyd's murder, using the National Guard in a pretty violent way in Lafayette Square to clear protesters. So they do have some power here, but I do think you are going to see the majority of Senate Republicans not throw themselves into the crossfire here, not side with Rand Paul, who is notoriously dovish on some of these things and has a very, very libertarian view of the way that the military can be utilized domestically and internationally. But I do think that most Republicans, at the end of the day, they are a bit, they lean towards, I think, supporting some of the options outlined in that bipartisan border bill that was tossed to the wayside earlier this year. That, though, is unlikely to be resurrected now with incoming President-elect Trump.
All right, Jackie, thank you so much as always. We greatly appreciate it. Mr. Secretary, let me ask you, and also ask you, somebody who's mayor of San Antonio and who understands the region as you do, and I'm going to be talking about the border along the Texas border, Texas-Mexico border. I look at the election results. For Democrats, I see bad news, not in Wisconsin or Michigan or Pennsylvania, the states we focus the most on, because Kamala Harris was, less than 1 point from beating Donald Trump in Wisconsin, about 1.5 points in Michigan, about 1.5 points in Pennsylvania. And Democrats won races for the Senate in Nevada, in Arizona, in Wisconsin, and in Michigan. All right, so those states are still up for grabs. Those states are still swing states. What I looked at on that map, and if I were a Democrat trying to figure out how to win next time, what would scare the hell out of me is, first of all, that Florida's gone now, but also Texas, a state where I think Democrats went from 13 points behind in 12 to 9 points behind in 16 to like 5 or 6 points behind in 20. And now they lost it. And what I keep going back to at that map is something you know so much better than anybody else. And that's all the counties along the border that used to be all blue, they are all red now. What do Democrats need to do differently if they want to win? Because if they're going to ever win Texas, they got to that's the first place they need to go and work, like next week.
Yeah. First of all, you have it right in terms of the trend in Texas. It was trending toward the middle.
Jake, I'm not letting them move in with me, and no, I'm not the only one in America
and then we
watching
had this last election where it went in the other
MSNBC.
direction.
I watch it because I want to see the
I think
difference
for a
in
long
what
time,
people are
South Texas
saying.
was taken for granted by Democrats. It was not invested in enough. It was assumed people show up and vote in the primary in March, and then, they're going to show up in November for Democrats. And so I think what you're going to see from the Texas Democratic Party is a lot more investment and attention down there in South Texas. I think part of it also is Trump. Whether it was Romney or other candidates, they didn't get this kind of response down there. And I think it's going to be hard for candidates in the future to replicate it. In other words, I don't take the Hispanic support down there as necessarily now they've turned into Republicans. I think they're still gettable.
It's like George W. Bush in 2004. He got 45% of the Hispanic vote.
Even Reagan in the 80s did fairly well back then with Latino voters. And so we've seen these spikes before, and the question is, for Democrats, what they're going to do to make sure that they get in there and they reach out. For Republicans, does it last? And are they going to get candidates that actually do the work to get in there and cement that?
All right, y'all. So I think that's going to be enough coverage as far as that's concerned, because that's basically enough. And I don't care about the platform, just so you guys know. It's about what the people in government are saying, so that we know and stay well informed. Who's that? Clint Collectibles, the only person in the USA watching MSNBC. No, I'm not. And no, I'm not going to let them move in with me, Jake Rose, whatever. The only person in USA watching MSNBC? No, I'm not, because there's over 200-300 people watching it right now with me, because they want to know what's being said and staying well informed on what's being said. You got to get your information from everywhere, and then you figure it out. You don't let them tell you what to do and how to decide on your bottom lines of your life. You are the king or the queen of your chessboard. You're the one that has to determine your moves. You're the ones that elected these people. So don't worry about the platform. Think about this right here also. The person that's the host, they could be bipartisan, but you can also be smart enough to be well informed to know when they're being bipartisan. The same way I know that Joe wasn't acting like this 2 weeks ago. He was calling Trump all types of names and calling people out and wanting to do it their way, until all of a sudden the numbers started going down, and the bottom line is men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. Now let's get into this other segment. The other segment that we're talking about is Mayorkas. He's getting grilled by Matt Gaetz. Anybody want to stick around for that? Let's check some out. It's your boy BOOGOTTINYC. Thank you for being here. Let's go.
$2 million encounters and releases under your watch. So not including the Title 42 expulsions, not including violent criminals. Of those 2 million plus that you've encountered and released, how many have you told to go home?
Congressman, individuals who are released are placed in immigration enforcement proceedings under the law, where they can make their claim for relief. If their claim for relief is not satisfied, they are subject to removal from the United States.
Right, subject to removal sounds very different than actually removed. So I'm not interested in the process. I'm not interested in what people are subject to. 2 million people encountered and released. Not the expulsions under Title 42, not the criminals. How many of those people have you deported?
So, Congressman, a few points. Number one.
Just how many of the people? I just want to know how many. It's just a number.
Congressman, we are dealing with a completely broken immigration
I get it.
system.
No, Mr. Secretary, I'm not going
That's
to burn my
right.
5 minutes. Do you know
That's
the answer?
right.
Do you
So-
know the number of people out of that 2
Sultan,
million
that's right.
that
You
you've
don't have
removed
to
that aren't
agree with
criminals?
them.
I do know that
But you
we
gotta
have
be
removed
informed.
more aggravated felons.
Right, I'm not asking about
Sure,
that.
boss, you're welcome.
I've caveated that away because here's what I'm sort of getting and what your non-responsiveness is demonstrating. The
Sean,
Mayorkas
Steven
doctrine
Diddler,
is
you're
this.
funny.
If you show up at the border and get released into the country, if you don't commit a specific aggravated felony, which by the way doesn't include a lot of assault and battery, doesn't include a lot of bad domestic violence, but if you're not one of the people who commit those crimes, you get to stay forever. Is that a fair characterization of your doctrine?
No, that is
Then
false.
tell me how many you're sending home.
No, that is false.
Okay, well, but you don't know the number of how many you've sent home. Here's another number. 1.2 million people today have been through your entire process, right? They've been through what you call a removal proceeding is just an amnesty dance. Because after the 1.2 million people get an order from the judge saying that they don't have a basis to be here, you still don't remove them. Like, what's your plan to remove those people?
Congressman, that is false.
Okay, how many of them then? Just give me the number.
Congressman, in this country, there are between 11 and 12 million.
Right, but I'm
undocumented
asking about a subset that you won't send home. And the reason you're smirking about it, and the reason you won't answer my question, is because everybody gets the joke. And the sad thing...
Why is he laughing? Why keep smiling like that? What is he smirking about?
The thing is, it's not just us here, it's the cartels who get the joke too. And so now,
He think it's
what
funny.
you've done to execute this Mayorkas doctrine, where so long as you don't commit a crime, you get to stay here and burden our hospitals, burden our schools, burden our social services, burden our jails. You've sent the message to the cartels, and then you've taken this app and you've digitized illegal immigration and you've scaled it to the moon. Like this app that you've got everybody downloading is like the Disney Fast Pass into the country, never to be subject to actual removal, just removal proceedings, as you call them. That app doesn't do any search of their criminal history in their home country, does it?
Congressman, I disagree with everything you have said.
Well, I'm sure, but just answer the question. Does the app that you are out there promoting do any search of people's criminal history in their home country?
Congressman, Customs and Border Protection screens and vets individuals whom they encounter.
Your app, it either has the functionality to test their criminal history in their home country or it doesn't. By the way, if it did, you'd have already told me. It doesn't. And then the other epic failure of this that's empowered the cartels is that in these processing centers you've set up in other countries to just wave them all in at a rapid pace, you've had to shut them down in Nuevo Laredo because the cartels were standing outside extorting people. Isn't that
Vampire
right?
Night. His smile
Congressman, that
tells
is
it all.
false.
Oh, really? So why did you shut down that facility in
Everyone
Nuevo
pays
Laredo?
tax.
And the
It's not
point
just
of
citizens,
safe,
right? That's
orderly,
right,
and
man.
lawful
That's right,
pathways
man.
is to reduce the number of encounters at our southwest border.
But wait a second. You've just shifted those encounters because right now, for the first time in modern history, more people are showing up at the ports of entry than running through some bush in Yuma, Arizona. And the reason they're showing up at the ports of entry is because you've got the turnstile open. Where so long as they've gone and downloaded this app, you just let them in. I got one final question for you, and it's an important one. Is Mexico an ally in this fight against illegal immigration?
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, it's hilarious and somewhat troubling that you say that because, like, I'm looking at the El Chapo trial where President Nieto took a $100 million bribe from the Sinaloa cartel. Do you think that the subsequent presidents following Nieto weren't offered a bribe by the cartel or didn't take the bribe?
Congressman, I disagree with everything you have said.
Right, but you can disagree all you want, but what you won't provide is any number. And when you sit there and just kind of ostensibly
Wait a minute. The president was offered and took $100 million bribe from the cartel? What?
subsequent presidents following Nieto weren't offered a bribe? So, I mean, it's hilarious and somewhat troubling that you say that because, like, I'm looking at the El Chapo trial where President Nieto took a $100 million bribe from the Sinaloa cartel. Do you think that the subsequent presidents following Nieto weren't offered a bribe by the cartel or didn't take the bribe?
Congressman, I disagree with everything you have said.
Right, but you can disagree all you want, but what you won't provide is any number. And when you sit there and just kind of ostensibly disagree without any facts, it shows people what the real gig is.
So you mean to tell me the presidents over there were getting hundreds of millions of dollar payments from the cartel in order for letting things go? That's about makes a lot of sense. Why not? Instead of going through trying to run from the cops and trying to get away from the federales, let's bribe this president. Why not? And if he's going to take it, he's going to tell everybody what to do to make us clear to get straight through. Man, this is crazy. They really do need to be deemed as terrorists like Trump said. Like, this is crazy.
The Mexican government is captive to the cartels. They are doing the bidding of the cartels, and based on your response today, so are you.
Thank you. Mr. Massey is recognized for 5 minutes.
I yield to my friend from Florida, Mr. Gates.
Is Hunter Biden a national security threat?
That's not a question that would come up before me, Congressman.
You're the head of the National Security Division, so it seems sort of on the nose.
It's not in my practice or experience to identify individuals
Not in my purview.
and to
We've heard
label
that
any
before.
individual, an American citizen or any individual as a national security threat.
Well, you would certainly concede that if the adult offspring of the President of the United States or the Vice President were compromised, that would be a national security threat, right?
We speak through our filings in court, and we speak through our actions in open court. So I would.
Okay, well, speak to this. Where's the laptop?
In that position.
Do you know where Hunter Biden's laptop is?
Matt did let
Again, I'm
him
not going
talk.
to talk about any potential
Just do
ongoing
you know where it
investigation
is?
as I sit
Do
here.
you know where it is?
I'm not going to talk about any ongoing
You
investigation.
come here to
Numbers,
tell us you
money,
follow
and
the facts and the
corporate.
law, but you can't even follow a laptop that you guys have had
Nah,
for
he's
3
not.
years.
We follow
That's
the
a
facts
fake
and the
case.
law,
You
and
guys
we
gotta
speak
look into that,
in
JW.
open court about our
Yeah,
cases.
but you aren't speaking about this. But you know who is speaking about it?
They found
the whistleblowers from the
nothing
FBI
on
have
this
gone
guy
to
right here.
Senator
You guys
Grassley
got to look into the
and said
case.
that
It's not
you guys
my preference. You just got to
purposefully
look into
take
it.
any information that is derogatory about Hunter Biden, and you go and rat hole it so that you never have to speak about it in any circumstance. But the good news is you're not the only ones with that laptop. So Patrick Ho was convicted of bribing government officials in Africa, and he gave $1 million to Hunter Biden. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not going to speak about any ongoing investigation.
Is that an
I
ongoing?
can assure
Is
you
that an ongoing investigation?
I'm not going to.
Patrick
I'm not going to
Hilbribe?
speak about any potential ongoing.
Like, don't you
investigation.
see that degrades the country's belief in you guys when you have whistleblowers saying that you're purposefully rat holing this information, and then you come here and say you won't talk about it? I mean, inside Hunter Biden's multi-million-dollar deals with a Chinese energy company, Washington Post, Matt Vizier, Chinese elite paid $31 million to Hunter and the Bidens, Peter Schweitzer in the New York Post. Hunter Biden's business partner called Joe Biden the big guy in panic messages. Do you guy call Joe Biden the big guy at the Department of Justice?
So I think it's important to understand why.
Well, here's the thing.
Supercharge your business with the all-new Shopify point of sale, the all-in-one.
It's pretty easy to see that Hunter Biden is compromised. I think every American knows that's a threat to national security. I think we're watching a crime spree in progress that Hunter Biden is orchestrating. And one has to wonder, what are the Chinese getting for the tens of millions of dollars that they're cutting the Biden family in on? What is the Chinese Communist Party getting as a result of cutting in 10% for the big guy? And I just happened to notice that you guys canceled the China initiative that President Trump put in place, where you focus talent on those things. Jim Biden said to Tony Bobolinsky that the reason they're able to get away with this corruption is plausible deniability. And that is precisely the plausible deniability that you are animating and exemplifying today. And you know what? Winter's coming. We're going to be in the majority, and then you're going to have to answer these questions for the country. A Democrat congressman recently said that any criticism of Joe Biden is ableist.
So no, I do not want to empower any side of a party, even though I do have my own preference. I got to be honest with you guys. I know that a lot of you guys have your input on Matt Gaetz. You definitely do, and I see that in the comments. What I would stress is that you guys go and look at the totality of what came out in the results of that, because it is being put up. And even Sonny from The View had to announce it and say that they found out that there was no evidence, nobody ever came to court or anything like that. That does not mean it's not true. I am not the one, I don't know, I don't want to get beat up behind this. I'm trying to bring you guys information and be informative so that you can make your own informed decision. Don't even look at me as far as like, oh, I might say something about, I might like somebody a certain way, or I might feel that a person's shirt looks cool or whatever. That's not even fair. What we got to do as human beings and as adults is learn how to make our own decisions. Take in information. Don't believe it at first. Investigate the information. Then you make your own assessment. Then you make your move. That's the only way to feel comfortable about the decision that you've made, because of the fact that you were well informed and you took the time out to find out about it, instead of being angry with someone else, of course, about giving you an opinion and you took that and ran with it, which is probably why the Democrats lost, is because they did not vote and push on a bottom line. They pushed their narrative on anger as well as what they personally felt about this person. Had she got up there and said, I'm gonna work on, the trains, I'm gonna work on New York subway crime, I'm gonna help, do certain things that are, maybe that would have helped. I don't know. But again, I come here every day for you guys so that we can come together as a community and share information. If I'm wrong about stuff, check me at the door. I'm like your brother. Let me know what's up. That wasn't right. I didn't think that was cool. Fix it. Do what we got to do. But that's what's going to make us better as a community. There's nothing that everything that you do is not going to be agreed with. Everything that I do is not going to be agreed with. But we can come together and make it work, because we have to. We all live in this world together. It's your boy BOOGOTTINYC. Like I always tell you, you could have went anywhere. But the fact that you came here to chill with me, I appreciate you guys. I don't want to leave either. I want to read all these comments. I want to see everything that's going on here, because I feel that it makes sense. Let me see, Jake, that's why they closed the case. Oh, you guys are talking in the comments. Okay, shout out let me just let y'all rock. I'm gonna let y'all go. Y'all do what y'all wanna do. Shout out to 585 right now. Criminals. Thomas Watts said criminals. Ron, sir, you're solid, sir. I appreciate you for saying that and noticing it. Because again, like I said, I'm not perfect. They tricked the honesty pop. They tried to honestly after 3 years of investigations, and they dropped all charges, tells me they had nothing and they wanted to get them bad. That's what I'm talking about. That's right there. Laura said it. Laura Zamba, she just said it. After 3 years of investigations, they dropped all the charges, tells me that they had nothing and they wanted to get them bad. We got a president with over 41 indictments. He's the president. Look at stuff both ways and then make your decision. I subscribe because of your calm demeanor. We need more of that. I love it. Thank you so much. His conspiracy outed him in testimony. His co-conspirator outed him in testimony. You see, Furry? I'm gonna go look that up. You know why? Because I'm interested. Who was Mayor Gates' co-conspirator? Maybe they covered that up. I wanna go see that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Put me on too. Put each other on. Each one teach one, and that's how we learn. I don't know if they telling the truth. The same way Trump just made it because of podcasters instead of major television networks. They made it because of people like me that do podcasts and just straight up give out information. And people like you that just want to live and not have to deal with BS. We already paying enough taxes and paying enough to live here. It's crazy. All right, WMSNBC and CNN. So y'all can go, okay, so Jake, I want you to go in the comments and tell me the other platforms that you want me to look at, because that would be fun for me. Because now I would put MSNBC, NBC, CNN, and the other ones that you guys tell me to put, so we can get a whole roundabout of information, so that all of us is looking at these people like, are they telling us the truth, or are they BSing us? We'd like to know. I didn't know how to fix a motorcycle till somebody taught me. Didn't know how to cut my hair till somebody taught me. Teach me too, and we'll all get better. Love you guys. I hate to leave because we killing it today. We did our thing. I hope you subscribe to the channel. 500 more people. When I'm at 20,000, I just want 500 more. I'm not greedy. It's your boy BOOGOTTINYC. I want to read a little bit more. Jake, yeah, I like that. I like that. I want to make sure I got you guys. If the lips move, they're lying. JW, if the lips move, they're lying. Michael Hayes, Tim Cash, Russell Brand, Redacted Jimmy. Ooh, I'm going to check that out. But like I said, y'all, hopefully you go over to the website as well. Get some merch. Big Drip. We got some nice merch over there. It's your boy BOOGOTTINYC. And until tomorrow, I got to go curate some more information right now to make the show as hot as today's was, because today we turned up. It's your boy BOOGOTTINYC. And like I always tell you, you could have went anywhere. But the fact of the matter that you came here to chill with me, I appreciate you. So until tomorrow, see you guys then. Get 'em! 1.